I'm going to call this meeting to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Yep. James?
Present.
Dan?
Present.
Dana?
Present.
And Christy?
Present.
Thank you so much. Could I get a motion to approve the absences, please?
I'll move to approve the absences of Eric Stuckey and Andrew Grayson.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Luis, would you mind reading the disclaimer?
Yep. Let me just get it pulled up. I'm just going to pull it up over here. Sorry, just zoom through this stuff, guys. Chapter 16, Section 22 of the City of Kalamazoo Code of Ordinance states, historical preservation is a public purpose. To serve that purpose, the Historic District Commission is hereby charged with the following responsibilities. A, the Kalamazoo Historic District Commission is empowered to regulate work on the exterior of historic resources and non-historic resources in historic districts in the City of Kalamazoo and shall otherwise have all powers invested in historic district commissions pursuant to the Local Historic Districts Act, MCLA 399201, and 1970 PA 169 as amended 1992. B, to regulate work on resources which, by city ordinance, are historic or non-historic resources located within local historic districts, including but not limited to the moving of any structure into or out of or the building of any structure in an historic district. The following documents are available in the Community Planning and Economic Development Department located at 245 North Rose Street. These documents will help assist property owners in understanding the responsibilities of owning property in a local historic district. MCLA 399201, 1970 PA 169 is amended 1992, which is the Michigan Local Historic Districts Act, Code of Ordinances of the City of Kalamazoo, Michigan, specifically Chapter 16, Historic Districts, the Secretary of the Interior Standards for the Rehabilitation and Guidelines for Rehabilitating Historic Homes, 1990, Standards and Guidelines for Kalamazoo Historic Districts, and maps of Kalamazoo Local Historic Districts. These documents and maps are also available in the City of Kalamazoo, on the City of Kalamazoo, website at www.kalamazoocity.org/historic preservation.
Thank you for that, Luis. Do we have any additions to the agenda tonight?
No, but I do, just in the interest of time, I think I would like to propose moving F1, which is the commissioner application of Katie Bortman, before the applications, because I think that'll be a shorter portion than the applications will be.
Move F before application reviews, you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, we can do that. Could I get a motion to approve the formal agenda, please?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any guests need to be introduced or any public comments? Okay. All right. Then should we move to, could I get an approval of the last meeting's minutes, please?
I'll move to approve the minutes for the meeting of July 16, 2024.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that's approved. All right, so then moving on to the commissioner application.
Yep. So if you would please approach the podium. And if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then the commissioner.
Okay.
My name is Katie Bortman, and I live in the Michigan neighborhood, and I find this engaged through James' post on our neighborhood Facebook page. I'm a lover of historic architecture. I do believe it is probably the true storytellers of our time out there. I do believe that it needs to be protected. My husband and I are also great lovers of business and honor. We live right outside
Great. Does anything in your professional life fit into this?
So I work in marketing, so really, but I do, as part of the community aspect of it, I have some of the community art gallery, tiny art gallery in my art.
Oh, yeah.
We received grants to kind of upgrade it. We have artists throughout Kalamazoo that fit in that gallery.
I follow it on Instagram, actually. Yeah, that's a great, fun little thing. Does anyone else have any questions?
I guess I know that you're doing digital, you have a history of digital marketing, but more specifically, what kind of skills do you think would transfer to work on the Historic District Board?
Great question. So I have a lot of project management skills. I have a lot of, within my work in digital marketing trainer, I handle everything from conception to strategy to execution to analytics. So I'm a little project. I love learning and getting input. Striker doesn't say really do like the top 5 strikes on my own, the learning and development section. Okay, so I believe I'm a lifelong learner. So these originally we put together projects before we look to the site, we look at the site, and that is just my applicant. It's really exciting.
Would you be able to attend these meetings once a month here at the 5 o'clock time with your work schedule?
I travel very little.
And then how long have you lived in Kalamazoo?
So we moved here in November of 2019.
Okay, cool. From where?
So we lived in Denver for about 18 months, and then prior to that, we lived in Nashville for about 20 years.
Oh, great. Yeah, great houses in Nashville. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No? No? All right. Well then, yeah, thank you so very much. Yep.
Awesome. So you can go ahead and have a seat, and then the commission will make a vote now. Just to remind you guys, these votes, the wording is a little bit tricky. The motion needs to be to recommend the appointment of the applicant, recommend the appointment of the applicant to the Historic District Commission, to the City Commission and the mayor. So it's a recommendation of appointment to the City Commission and the mayor of the applicant. I know it's a mouthful.
I'll take a stab. I move to make a recommendation of appointment of Katie Berman to the Historic District Commission to the City Commission and Mayor.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Luis, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. James?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Christy?
Yes.
Thank you. So they did pass the recommendation. I'll pass that along. We will try to get it into the next city commission packet. Once it goes there, they will then vote on the recommendation, and then I'll stay in touch with you following that. So, yep, awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, now moving on to application reviews. We're going to start with 911 South Park.
Yep, sorry, yep. If you wouldn't mind tapping that microphone real quick, I just want to make sure it's working. If you could just give it a tap. Yep, okay, awesome.
My name is Tom Hackley. I am here representing my stepson, Aaron Davies, who's the owner of the building at 911 South Park. The application is, am I loud enough for it? Okay. There isn't feedback on this side. The application is for the removal and replacement of a front porch. The porch currently is in badly deteriorated condition. And was added on, I believe, inappropriately for the style of the building. It's a Greek revival porch that wraps around the front of the house, so it makes a curve to one side, covers up a window that is in the stairwell on the inside, shades the windows on the front of the living room, and is out of proportion with the whole building. My stepson is proposing to replace it with a smaller structure, more in the scale of the existing building, in the style of the original, which is a Queen Anne Victorian style. So the footprint would be smaller. It'll be mostly an entry porch rather than a grand seating kind of porch. The materials will be all in keeping with the existing structure. Clapboards, trim that is in the vernacular of the Queen Anne. It'll match the two porches that are on the rear, so it would be using turned posts and turned balusters in agreement with the other porches on the house. And I think that's it. I think there are some questions as I've read through the staff report about what is actually the historic feature, the original or the replacement porch. In my opinion, and I did serve as a docent for the Chicago Architecture Foundation for years, so I do have some expertise in this area. In my opinion, it should be returned to the original design of the building. We don't know what that porch looked like, but I'm quite certain it was not a Greek revival. It would have been a Queen Anne style. So if there are any questions, I can answer them.
Yeah, thank you for reading my report, and thank you for talking about the project. I do just want to remind everyone that right now we only have 4 commissioners present, which is quorum. So for a motion to pass, it does need unanimous support. You can elect to continue on right now, or you can elect to postpone until the next meeting if you would like. Completely up to you. Another reminder, I think, to everyone, too, that there's going to be a scheduling conflict for next month, and I will not be in town, so we won't be having a meeting unless it becomes unless there's some circumstance that necessitates that. So the next meeting would be in October. I just wanted to let you know before we continued, just as...
No, I think we'd like to proceed today,
Okay,
and
awesome.
if there are issues, that'll give us time to deal with it.
Yep, awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I'll hand it over to the commission.
I see in the application that it was, the porch was more than likely installed in 1900. Is
Roughly, it's really hard to tell. There are some, in the applicant, I included kind of I'm sorry to scroll through this quickly to everyone. This packet was put together. It looks like they had done some preparation to do this work some time ago. And I can make this bigger for everyone as well. Sorry for all the clicking around. Looking underneath, you can see in the second picture down on the left side that there is a field stone portion of the porch, and then there's a cut stone portion. Generally, when we're looking at properties like these, the porch would kind of cover up a field stone portion. They knew that they didn't need to put a cut stone portion of the foundation if it was going to be covered up by a porch. So this is a very good indicator that it could have been that the original porch would have been much smaller to only cover up that fieldstone portion of the foundation. Looking through Sanborn's, we're really lucky to have Sanborn fire insurance maps, but they're also kind of a beast to navigate because they only originally focused kind of on the center of the city of Kalamazoo, and these ones were out of reach until we get to 1908. By that time, you can see that there was a larger porch on it.
So this porch goes back at least till 1908, is what you're saying?
There was a larger porch.
Okay.
We don't know this one, but looking at the footprint, it looks like there was a larger porch on the property going back to at least 1908.
And I had a question about your report where you were talking about the National Register nomination. I just wanted to clarify, sounded like you were saying that this porch, while not original, may have taken on some historical significance of its own because of its age. Is that right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways to look at this, and the Secretary of the Interior Standard number 4 starts to become an interesting one, especially when looked at in conjunction with the Secretary of the Interior Standard number 3. There's also a brief report that was written by the feds that talks about you have to consider a lot of things. Age itself does not mean that it's gained significance, right? Just because something is old does not mean that it's significant. That being said, there's a flip side of that coin. The National Register nomination does cite quite a few Queen Anne / Colonial Revival properties in this area. This is part of the Vine National Register nomination area, and when they first nominated it, they found that that was one of the styles that was very prevalent in the area. So those are both things to consider, I guess, when looking at this.
Question to build on that. When you're referencing the Colonial and Queen Anne, are you talking about the two styles living in conjunction in the same property or two separate styles in the neighborhood?
It was literally listed on the nomination for the nomination report. Queen Anne / Colonial Revival was the exact way that it was written. I didn't copy and paste because it's not OCR, but I typed out that excerpt from the National Register nomination.
Looking through the photos, it looked like a lot of the deterioration was specifically related to roofing and maybe roofing failures or inappropriate, or not inappropriate, maybe inappropriate roofing angles and stuff. Is that true? Do you feel like that?
No, I think there's plenty of slope to the roof as it exists. It's just very old.
Yeah.
And my stepson has been meticulously restoring this building. I don't know whether he's come before you a couple of times for some changes in the past. He has a high regard for the historic value of buildings, so he's definitely wants to do something that puts it into more in keeping with the style and with the immediate neighborhood. I mean, if you look at the houses that are across the street, they all have a roof with a gable facing the street, and they are rectilinear rather than curving around the corner. None of them wrap around the building. So he wants to restore it as much as possible the way it probably was.
For me, from that era that it was built up till now, like this house does a good job of like telling the story of like how tastes change and how people took their one very specific style house and added on to it. And I'm sitting here, I feel like the curved porch and all that additional architectural juiciness, I mean, it adds to it, and the fact that it itself is 124 years old. I know you said not to just take age into consideration, but it also tells a story of how like people would build a certain kind of house and then that would evolve too. So sitting here, I don't know if I would be super excited to see it, removed and trinicated back to match the other ones. That's just where I'm sitting.
Well, I would point out that the porch violates the integrity of the original building by covering half of a window that was lighting the stairwell, and by shading the windows that were intentionally put in the front to provide light into the living area.
Thank you. In that excerpt that I was just mentioning from a short write-up called Acquired Significance in Standard Number 4, which deals with Standard Number 4, the Secretary of the Interior Standards, and I believe I cited a portion of this, but changes should be carefully evaluated for their relative importance to a property's overall historic character. Change is not automatically considered to have acquired significance just because it occurred within the property's period of significance or by virtue of the change's age. For example, just because a change is more than 50 years old. Also, a change important to the historic character of one building may not be similarly important to the character of another building, and some changes may have little or no historical merit or may otherwise not be sufficiently important that they have to be retained in order to preserve the historic character of the property.
I think two of the more convincing arguments for changing it, as the application states, is that it would respect the integrity of the overall historic property and prevent future damage, especially changing, looks like where it is a flatter portion of the roof to eliminate that water damage, and then also, as you just mentioned, opening up the window.
I'm going to say opening up the window and that on the curved portion is one thing. Reducing the width of the house porch to just a small stoop porch is another thing. I mean, on the houses across from us were built in the early 1880s, that style, and they both have house width porches. It was not uncommon in that era to put a porch on that style house that ran the length of the porch, or the width of the house, I'm sorry.
I was going to say something kind of similar. Even what I think are the reference photos in the application seem to still have front porches that, while they may not wrap around, seem to still span more of the width of the house, which I feel like, if not trying to, I know we can't discuss this is not how the application is written, but I feel like if we wanted to discuss something more of removing the wraparound in a reconstruction, I might be more open to that, as it would feel more familiar with how the house has aged and, kind of as Dan said, told the story of the architecture. Even if it seems conflicted, it tells the story of the area. But I feel like the sketch that's included, where, as Dana said, it's kind of more of just a front stoop, I feel like that's kind of inconsistent with like the mass of the house, in my opinion. And I understand the stones may tell a different story, but the wraparound porch also tells a story, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The stoop is quite a significant change versus just removing the part that wraps around the side. I agree with that.
Could I get a motion to approve?
I guess I'll ask the commission now. Is there... Is there more information then that is sought by the commission?
Not by me.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed alteration, removal, and replacement. Oops. Sorry, wrong one. The alteration, the removal, and replacement of the front porch on 911 South Park.
And please also cite the Secretary of the Interior standards that are applicable.
I'm sorry. You're right. Pursuant to Secretary of Interior standards 2, 4, and 6.
Thank you.
Could I get a second on that, please?
I'll second.
Luis, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Yep. James?
No.
Dan?
No.
Dana?
No.
And Christie?
No.
Okay, so as presented, this one did not pass, but we can certainly talk. I'll send out an email to Aaron by the end of the week discussing this. To me, it sounds like perhaps there could be some reinterpretation of what was going on to better align with the Secretary of the Interior standards, so we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Moving on to 703 South Park.
Hello? I'm Mike Perwin. I'm the property owner at 703 South Park Street. At the south-facing side of the home, toward the back of the house, there is a screen porch. Not sure if it's original. Sure looks original. But I am looking to replace that with a, well, as the drawings show, just a deck slash porch coming off of that exterior door, and remove the steps going up to that entryway. There's another egress. There's two south-facing door entryways on that home. My goal is just to create another habitable space for the tenants in that house. They'd like a grill. Right now there's a front porch, which is in great shape, but there's a roof there, so I don't really want a gas grill. So just looking for an open outdoor area for the tenants to enjoy. Want it to look nice, not looking to have an eyesore out there, but just trying to do something in the balance between my rights as a homeowner and what I'm allowed to do based on the historic district.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking at the picture of it now. Does anyone want to start off with any questions? Seems like, I'll just start. It seems like there's a lot of missing porch as it is. Like all the spindles and railing is all gone.
Yeah, it needs attention. So it's going to get attention regardless. So I'm here for that direction. But you see what I want to do.
Yeah.
I had a question about the removal of steps. So if there was just a deck there, obviously the new deck wouldn't be raised up. Would there then have to be steps coming from that door that we see pictured here down to the new deck? Or are you talking about removing that door? I wasn't clear on that.
Oh, sure. No, that exterior door would stay there. Just off picture is another exterior door that's at ground level.
Okay.
So there's two exterior doors on the south side of the house.
Mm-hmm. And how would people get out of that door?
Say again?
How would people get down from that door if there was no steps there?
Well, they'd go back inside and go down the half steps to the landing to where that other south-facing door is.
So,
And let me clarify. The ground level door, you walk in, there's a landing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a split level. Steps go downstairs to the basement, and then steps go up to
the level where that door is?
The main level there.
So would you just leave the porch door in place then?
The porch door will stay in place because that would be the only way to access that door. That porch would only be accessible from inside.
Just to clarify, I think that the porch is going to be at the same level as the existing porch. So you would enter the
Yes.
porch from the door on the inside, but you would not be able to step down into
Oh,
it.
that makes more sense.
So,
Yeah. I was picturing what you were saying as like a deck, a lower deck, and then that door would be a door to nowhere.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing too.
Apologies.
That's
No,
what I-
it would
yeah.
be at that level, yeah.
Oh, okay,
I see.
great. Yeah,
Thanks, Luis.
Yeah, that makes. And then where would you remove the roof then?
The roof would be removed, yes.
And then just patch in with cedar siding,
Correct.
whatever's missing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot more, yeah, that makes a lot more sense, yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep.
And my request is approval, site visit, approval with conditions. That is my request from the board.
Yeah, I think people are just going over their notes, and then if they have some more questions, they'll fire off, and, but yeah, if you want to just,
Okay.
or you can hang out.
I'll hang out.
Yeah.
You guys take your time.
How long have you owned the house?
20 plus years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luis, do we have any indication of the age of this porch?
Again, when we're looking to try to date these things, I think it becomes very difficult where you're only looking at Sanborns truly. So there has been that projection from the side of the property, again, since 1908. I got some conflicting dates on the construction of this property. BSNA assessing records say 1900. There was another document that I found that said 1905. I mean, that puts it within a 5-year range, right? And then the next map that we could look at and see that projection is 1908.
Okay.
Or a projection. I cannot definitively say that it is this projection, but there was a projection off the south side of the property.
I have almost exactly the same porch off the back of my house, but then they turned it into a mudroom some time long ago.
I always thought I'd turn it into a bathroom, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Do we have any more questions, anyone, or should we do a motion?
Is the porch in a state of disrepair right now as it is, or is the motivation truly just the outdoor space for your tenants?
Yeah, well, the opportunity presented itself with the rental inspection certification that something needs to be done with it. However, yes, it's a lot has been going on with this house over the past several years. New kitchen, new roof, new furnace, new water heater, remodeled bathroom. So a lot has been going on the inside of the home to make improvements for the tenants. And it was just painted last year. The entire house was painted last year. Well, not the entire house. This was kind of left in limbo, based on what I wanted to do with it or what I'm allowed to do with it. Yeah. So, yes.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, mine, yeah. Yeah.
Personally, I feel like the covered part is such a unique architectural feature for that style of the house. And so I'm conflicted because I would hate to see something like that go. If it can be repaired, or if a porch could be, like a lower deck could be added around it to give the tenants that desired space, while still preserving, because that's ultimately our goal, is we want the space to be usable and enjoyable and modern, without sacrificing those historic features that make that house what it is. I worry that the sizing of a new deck, if it were to totally replace this, would not quite fit that style of the house.
I would normally agree 100%, but this porch is so thrashed. Like even the foundation columns that hold it up seem, I don't know. The trim is, the two columns are mostly intact, and the overall shape is, but it is just so far gone. I would feel conflicted asking you to restore it. That's.
How long have you owned the property?
20 plus years.
20 plus years. I feel like, to me, that does indicate there has been opportunity to make some restorations. I mean, you can't tell me all this happened in the last 5 years or.
Yeah.
I hear you, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I have an old home as well. I hear you. And you got to prioritize your projects. I understand that.
Right.
I'm conflicted as well, kind of as James said, because, while it does seem like a small porch and a small detail, it is visible. I mean, from the front of the house, it is off to the side. I know it's toward the rear, but it's still on the side of the house. It's not at the rear.
Sure.
So I'm conflicted. I'm still chewing this one over.
I completely understand. The porch was in rough shape. It was further damaged by the theft of a bicycle that was tied up to it and just ripped right off by the thief. So that did accelerate some of the damage.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, if your request were not to pass tonight, might you consider a different proposal that would perhaps retain some of the original features of that porch, not all of them, but some of them, and incorporate those into a deck that would expand the outdoor living space?
Absolutely.
I mean, that would be the best of both worlds if you're willing to do it, like maybe restore what you have there, and then, I would be into adding on even, since there is no railing or anything there. I mean, it feels like you could restore what you have, add a deck onto it, and then everyone, the property retains the original character, and then also you have more of a space for people outside, and it'd probably be easier actually than ripping it all out and trying to match the cedar back in and stuff. If you were open to that, I mean, I would be a lot more stoked on that one.
And I just want to make sure, too, that we're clarifying when we're using the standards. So 2 and 6, 2 states that the historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials, alterations, or of features and spaces that characterize the property shall be avoided. 6 speaks to the repair of deteriorated features, specifically where the severity of deterioration requires replacement. I think that what we have to consider, and if we were to go through it in an order of operations, is one, we have to determine first if this is a distinctive feature of the property or character-defining feature of the property before we even start to address the severity of the deterioration.
And I think it is.
And then once we get through that, then we can start to look at new additions, which shall characterize exterior alterations or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. And then also we need to consider that the new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible in massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the integrity of the property and its environment.
Yeah.
Those are, it just so happens that those also go in order that way in the standards, but those are, I think, kind of the order of operations that we should be thinking through when we're considering this.
Okay, I thought that's just what we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, I'm going to speak for myself. It looks like a character-defining feature. It looks really bad. Looks very deteriorated. And fixing it up and then adding to it in a way that would distinguish the addition from the current porch would seem like an ideal situation.
Sounds more expensive.
I don't know if it genuinely would be, because you would, you're going to have to build stairs anyways, right? And so replacing your stairs.
No stairs.
So you wouldn't, if the deck was there, you wouldn't have any way to get off the deck down to the flat, the ground?
Not without going back in the house.
Okay.
So the egress is, and I could if that was a...
I think you might get in trouble with that. Well, you have an egress very close to that. Is that what you're saying? So there's two.
Literally, it's half a stoop and a few steps away.
Yeah.
It's probably 20 feet total.
The other thing is we're not allowed to take cost into regard on our end. So, just seeing how, people's feelings are, if it went to a vote right now to allow you to remove it, I think that would just be voted now. If one of us said no, it wouldn't work.
Right.
So I think you have to, more than likely, and I'm not talking for anyone else, but you're probably going to have to restore it anyways. And I do think that it would be a pretty elegant solution if you could then just have the deck off of it, I don't.
We also, I think, could request maybe a revised proposal that would factor in keeping some elements of the existing.
Yeah, keeping some
porch.
element.
And
Some
that
element.
That would carry over then. He wouldn't have to reapply and stuff. Is that correct?
Would we ask for more information, or?
Yeah, just a couple clarifying remarks. The cost and feasibility, it just becomes complicated, so it can be considered, but it is incumbent upon the applicant to show that the cost becomes a hardship pretty much. So it can play in, but it's a complicated factor. We have already spoken about the quorum thing, so if there was one downvote, then it would be denied. Additional information could be requested by the commission to see if it could further align with the Secretary of the Interior standards. That would lead to a postponement if they so elected. New drawings could then be submitted for the next meeting, and it would be reconsidered without a reapplication fee.
Would it be, if it was able to be approved by the building codes, that you don't need those stairs for exit reasons, if you did do all that work to restore? Because if you look at the photo of your stairs, the stairs are so gone, and they're not the original stairs that were there anyways. I mean, it's probable that we would approve kind of the same situation if it's just you go out that door onto a deck, you know, for look and cost reasons, that might help your situation.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm wondering is, I was going to expand the footprint. If I'm adding on to it, what are the pieces you really want saved? Because then there's going to be a pillar holding up the roof right in the middle of the deck. So I'm just trying to, right now on the fly, figure out the logistics of that design.
And my own personal opinion, I don't think that would be too terrible. Like if you were just to, you paint and replace the rotted wood that you could, and then that'd be kind of an interesting feature, having the deck around it. And then you'd have some shade, and then there'd be a spot for a grill that's not under a roof, because I know I've had neighbors have fires because of that very thing.
Sure.
So, me sitting here, I think I would be, I can't talk for anyone else, but I'd be way more inclined to approve that than just removing it and putting a deck on.
Okay. So keeping all features or some?
And I really think it is
features?
important to distinguish that the commission
Comparative.
can't necessarily consult on the design of it.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to talk with you if there was
Yeah.
a postponement that happened, and we could kind of go through the standards together and look at things that would, in my opinion, best align with the Secretary of the Interior standards. So we could certainly do that. I'm more than available to talk with you on the phone or come out in person and look at things. I, again, wouldn't be consulting, but I could give you my feedback on designs that were proposed. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm conflicted because I feel for your tenants, and we want to make it a usable space for them. But ultimately, we are bound by the standards, and so I think I would be leaning right now towards recommending a postponement that wouldn't then cost you anything else, correct? To reapply, and see if we could come up with something that better aligns with those standards that we're bound to. Where I'm at.
Who do I consult with on that?
With the standards?
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be Luis.
Luis would.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Luis is the liaison with the
Okay.
city for that stuff.
and I could certainly, again, I just want to make sure that we're not using the word consult, I guess, so we don't get the wrong impression, but I could certainly give you feedback on designs that you submitted and how they align with the Secretary of the Interior standards and with the City of Kalamazoo's standards and guidelines for historic buildings.
Okay.
I think like for me, keeping the footprint, the roof line, basically like the frame, if you will, I feel like not changing that is important. I think keeping those turn posts as is, if possible, restoring those, I think those are going to be like the biggest features for me. So basically just repairing what's there, making that structure sound, and then finding a way to maybe get in a step down, wrap around or something. That's what I would, I'd say it's all important.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion unless there's other questions or comments. Okay, I'll move to postpone until our next historic district meeting, which is scheduled currently for the 15th of October, and direct the applicant to provide the requested materials and information to Luis, our historic preservation coordinator, by noon on October 8th.
Seconded.
Could I have a roll call vote, please, Luis?
James,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Christy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be in touch then by the end of the
Okay.
week. I'll at least shoot you an email and have some paper. And like I said, we can then look over new drawings that you submit and see how they align with the Secretary of the Interior standards and our local standards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you for coming in.
All right, 739 McCordy.
quick question, given that kind of the scope of this, I don't know if you wanted to switch the next one to this place so that, in the interest of their time?
If you would like to elect to switch around, if the board is okay with that, we can certainly do that.
I mean, it's kind of the whole house restoration versus,
Yes.
versus a door. So if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you so much.
Very
for that.
thoughtful, thank you.
Very thoughtful.
207 West Vine.
Hi there. So I'm here with 207 West Vine. I'm sure you all know it. I am looking to basically undo what was done to the house by prior owners that I don't believe aligns with the historic guidelines. Specifically number 4, I think that's the significance. That one, it doesn't basically align. So if you look at picture 3, so I'm going to start with, I think it's picture 3. Or this picture is fine. So this is the porch that you can see that Lowe's Tyvek was added there. This was not done to any historical standard. You can tell that there's a porch there. It's very deteriorated. My initial thought was to tear the porch off, and then I talked with Louise, and we were like, hey, that's not a good idea. Let's fix this. We can fix this. But as it stands, when we do fix this, we build the stairs, put everything back the way it historically would look. There's no door. So it's going to be a set of stairs up to maybe a 3-foot by 4-foot section that you could possibly sit on. But it's all the way on the other side of the house, and it doesn't seem very functional. There used to be a door here, you could tell by the inside, and the prior owner and contractor just boarded this up to put a bathroom there. You can see that there's the plumbing underneath it. That plumbing's going to go away. You can't put a bathroom there. It's not feasible with historic guidelines. You can't get foundation, you can't keep heat there. So they were trying to get an extra half bathroom in a space that doesn't work. Okay. So my proposition would be to take this back door off and take that door off, and that door leads to a bedroom. The house is down to the studs, but it has already been rewired and replumbed, and that was actually approved back in 2019. It needs to be reapproved again, but basically the work is there. So reconfiguring the inside would be really, really challenging. This door would open up into a bedroom, and it just doesn't really make any sense. And proposition would be to take this exact same door, move it to the side, and put it into that porch, and that would be kind of like another entryway. So it'd be more functional and more historic in the nature of the house.
So with the door, when you relocate it, would it, the door in its current position, would it then be parallel or perpendicular? Like which side of the house would it be?
Good point. If you want to scroll back up. So we would side over this with cedar siding. We'd patch that in nicely. It's already up top. We'd have to patch it anyways. But if you want to scroll maybe down, so it would not go, so scroll down to the next picture. So that's right where the door would go. So basically you would walk up the stairs and you would go straight into the door, and then you'd have maybe like like an entryway
like
for
a
like
mudroom.
Shoes.
Yeah.
And then, you put your shoes there. We'll insulate the floor the best we can, but it's not going to be a super warm space. And then you could turn to go in the house, and that enters into kind of a kitchen or entry space. So it makes a lot more sense.
Totally. And I like that you're talking about using what's already there. You're going to use the same door, reposition it. I like that where you're going to put it. It naturally goes with, your pretend staircase there.
But we'll fix all that.
It won't really change anything the way it looks from the street because it's all still technically kind of on the rear of the house. I stopped by here today and I saw your painter out there working, and it's exciting to see this house getting some love.
We're going to get it fixed up. I almost came to you trying to fix all these windows or like replace them, but I'm actually going to try to save them. So I think we can.
I live right around the corner, and I was going to ask about the windows if you were restoring them.
A lot of them are in the house still.
Yeah.
We found them. We haven't actually had enough time to go and like match everyone up, but we're like, they're here. Maybe they came from somewhere else, which has happened to me before. Yeah. But we're going to try to do the best we can to restore or to replace what's there. Because I am going to go for a historic tax credit for this.
Oh, great.
This
That's awesome.
So, and I've he told me about this packet, 130 pages or whatever. Read all about the windows, and they do not like replacement windows, even if they're wood. So we're going to try to do the best we can, but if we don't have it, we don't have it. So
I helped Yeah, so you bought it in this condition?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I helped
Yep.
a neighbor load up the fireplace mantle, which was scrapped on the street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, years ago.
Really?
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we bought it like this, and I haven't done anything. I haven't really, had the time or, money, but now I've kind of got a couple things in order, and
Yeah.
we're going to town on it, so.
Well, the paint already is making a huge difference. Thank
Yeah,
you for that.
it's going to be, I'm taking paint color suggestions. Seriously, if you guys have any thoughts. I know you're not,
Yeah.
maybe offline or something.
Yeah.
Can I leave some chips on your front steps? Is that weird? I live a couple blocks from there, so.
Be more than happy to. Honestly, I hate picking paint colors.
Not tan. There's so much tan.
Oh my gosh, my own house is tan. It's terrible.
Same.
My
okay.
gut just is like white. I just want like white, be done, don't think about it, but I don't really
Yeah.
want to do that.
Any other questions?
I'm
before
just
we-
curious, is the driveway that is shown in that picture, is that your driveway? Is that the neighbor's?
It's the neighbors.
Yeah.
I would like to purchase it, but it's not. It's not.
I was just
ours.
curious.
Actually, the shared driveway's on the other side of the house.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah, but yeah, there is already a door on that side of the house, on the front of the house. So there's already a door on that side.
I have one more just curiosity question. What's your plan for the home? Will it be a single family, owner occupied, rental, apartments?
It's going to be. So I have a couple things working in the background, and I don't think it will be able to be owner occupied. Possibly the possibility of a grant and some other things. So it would if everything goes through, it will most likely be like attainable housing, based on some certain standards that they have. So that it will be like voucher holders, is from my understanding.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to alter 207 West Vine Street by removing the door from the rear of the property and installing it on the side porch, as the work complies with the Secretary of Interior Standards 2 and 9.
I'll second the motion.
Could I have a roll call vote, please, Louise?
James,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Christie.
Yes.
So that passed, and I'll be in touch with you by the end of the week. Hopefully I get should be able to get the paperwork out to you by the end of the week too, so.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We might have it done this week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Peter Barnard. I own 3 houses, well, this is the 4th, in the Vine Street area. All are rentals or will be rentals. We've gone through the historic process for 2 of the other houses, so I've been here a couple of times, and we've gone through that, and it's worked out well. So this house is, this one's a challenge. It's been vacant for, we think, at least 15 years. At least based on what the city said, and the neighbors next door have said even worse. It's pretty much destroyed on the outside and on the inside. So kind of where we're going is we'll stick with the frame and rebuild from there. So what's the easiest way for me to go through? I think the big ask, frankly, is the exterior, where we want to do a couple of things. First, as you've obviously looked through the photographs and stuff like that, there's a lot of patching of the cedar. There's a lot of deterioration of the cedar. So, 20% might be usable at most. And you can see lots of patches where there used to be windows and windows have been replaced, that sort of thing. So what we like to do is take the cedar off and then first and foremost, put some sheathing on the house to provide structural rigidity. So right now, if you're in almost any room of the house, you can look outside through various holes, places like that. So there's no sheathing on the house currently, which has been pretty attractive to animals and squatters and et cetera. So first, we'd like to really remove the cedar, put some sheathing on, and then would like to replace, rather than with cedar, do LP Smart Side, really from the perspective of the longevity of the product, We were thinking a 6-inch lap, which gives us a 5-inch overlap, which would look more in keeping with the historic district. So that's what we were really kind of intending to do outside. For the front of the house, the porch is, well, we could do back porch since you were there, Louise.
Okay.
There really isn't any back porch. There are back stairs, which are cement. We want to put a platform back there, like a 5x5 platform, as we've done in McCourty, in keeping with the historic standards, to have just basically a place where people could bring groceries in, put them down, and then go in that back door. That what you see there, the OSB. The original door was replaced by a twin slider door. We would take it back to a single panel door as opposed to having sliders back there. So really you only need like a 5x5 foot section where you could, put groceries down, that sort of thing. Front porch was really has been kind of redone. Based on the boards that are up top. It's not the tongue and groove kind of boards, but rather like 6-inch pieces, but really deteriorated. And if you look at it structurally, there are 4x4s on each end, and only one 4x4, not even in the middle, but rather on the right-hand side of the concrete stairs that are. It's not even of a real concrete. Basically, it's a modular piece put together, and so you have to kind of kick the end in so it doesn't fall down. So we redo that to that look and feel, but reinforce it and have it structurally sound. And then, as I mentioned, do a front stairway, a front set of stairs that would look like we have at 723 McCourty. So. In accordance with the historic district. I think I had a photo in there for that. Yeah, exactly. So just the stairway really from the stairs on up to the platform. So redo it in that context for historic standards, and that would be what we were looking at for the rear deck, or 5 foot by 5 foot platform. So that's the exterior. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not introduce you? Oh, I'm sorry. This is Matt Hazel. He's our GC. He did the work on 723 McCourty, and he'll be doing the work on 739 as well. Inside. So inside, it's an interesting house. If you go in the front door, the stairway is actually shifted a few feet to the right, so the stairway going up is not dead center, but rather shifted. So what we'd like to do is on the east side, on the left side of that diagram, put in 2 bathrooms there, one entering from the kitchen, one entering from the living room. They're basically 7 by 9, 7 by 10 foot bathrooms there. And then on the right-hand side, on the paper, the existing bathroom is there, but we want to take that out and instead have a pass through that area into the kitchen, and then have a closet and a pantry in that area.
So I'm going to stop you right there.
Sure.
I just have a question. So for Louise, we regulate or address requests for work on the exterior of the house, right? So I'm fascinated by that. But if there's anything that you're going to do on the inside that impacts the outside,
yes,
that would be something that we'd be interested in hearing about.
And it does have an impact. And,
okay.
And so I was trying to give you the kind of where
okay.
we were trying to head,
all right,
so you could understand what we're asking for. So right now you have 7 existing windows in that structure. two opposite the door, so on either side of the door. And then on the east side of the house, on the left, you have 3 windows there. And then on the other side, you have 2 windows there. Given where the bathroom would be, what we'd like to do is take out the windows on the east, two windows on the east side, and in the bathroom have an appropriate bathroom window. So rather than a full-length window, higher up.
Basically just shortening them.
Shortening them up, exactly. And then having, replacing those with new wood windows there. So you would have two wooden windows on that side of the house. What we then wanted to do is take the original windows, move one into the kitchen area where there's currently no window. So repurpose that existing window into another area, and then repurpose the second window onto the west side of the house where there's currently a little closet window. So give you, fuller light and a full window there. And in all those cases, we would be, in all the cases of the original windows, we'd be refurbishing the windows. We wouldn't be replacing those windows. So we're really adding 2 new wooden windows, but we're repurposing the existing windows. So that's why I was kind of going through the bathrooms and all that stuff. But I understand where you're going. In the rear of the house, like I said, get rid of the slide door and put in a single door. What we were hoping to do is take the door. It's a relatively new door on the front of the house. Move that to the back, and then find a historic door for the front of the house, like we did at 723 McCourty. So go to Heritage Company and find something that works there that would be appropriate. On the east side, and you have 2 windows that are non-original. One is in the existing bathroom, and one is in the kitchen. We'd like to replace those 2 windows with new wooden windows. So one is that's the kitchen casement window. We'd replace that and put 2 new wooden windows in there.
The one closet and the
All right, forgive me if you said this already. I'm trying to make sense of the drawings and listening. It looks, can you clarify, are you removing a window just beneath the drawing where it's got the 2 new bathroom windows? So the next one, yeah, that one. Or is there still a window there in the new drawing?
There will be a window there that Luis is circling.
Got it.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
is a window there that would be refurbished.
Thank you.
And the missing trim in the front, the right under the roof line there, you just restore that back to match what is there.
Yeah, I kind of
as much as you can.
Sorry, I missed a big component there. For all the eyebrows, that sort of thing, some are just frankly missing.
Yeah.
What our goal would be there is to use wood, and on the very outside LP siding, LP boards, and like you say, replicate exactly that same pattern. In some cases, I think 2 of the eyebrows are missing, so we'd have to recreate those eyebrows. But the idea would be to recreate them as they were. In the same way, any crown, any frieze boards, that sort of thing, we'd simply recreate what we could. And some of it is just a function of what we can use that's there, and seeing what is so far deteriorated that it doesn't make sense to use. So
that sounds great. And then the other question I had is the siding product you mentioned. I'm not familiar with it. It's wood based.
It's a wood based product.
It's a composite wood-based product for exteriors.
Okay.
And there is feedback here. Sorry. The appeal of it is now that the oil-based paints you can't do any of them. The length that it holds caulk and acrylic or latex paint far surpasses that of cedar. So it's kind of a maintenance thing, as it's going to look pretty much like it's cedar siding, and it is a wood-based product.
Yeah.
It's not the cement-based
Right.
style.
Yeah.
And there are two different options. You have they call it a smooth paint finish, and then they have one that looks more like very rough cedar. And in speaking with Luis, the interest was doing the smooth paint finish, which is available. So we're
Yeah.
hoping to do that.
Yeah, it's, I mean, the existing siding's just so thrashed. If you went back in, I would say almost impossible to try and patch it even more, so.
My concern with it is most of those homes had not sheeting, they had one body, either diagonal or horizontal, then siding. And they're stout because they're hand-hewn beams and mortised in studs and everything, but that siding is, half inch and now probably 3/8 as it's deteriorated. There's very little integrity left in that, which, the sheeting would provide the integrity, plus added vapor barrier in the whole house and kind of tighten it all back up.
Yeah.
So I would be scared just to even fix that siding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, because
Yeah.
of what's going on with it.
Okay.
And
I just wanted to
There's
comment.
a couple
to-
more things too, sorry. I just want to get through the last two things and then we can ask them.
Please.
Because this is a big application.
Yeah.
Peter is right, this is a big application. So I think there's only two more things, right? The second story windows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And just as far as the sheathing on the outside here, we would be intending to use the zip system. I'm not sure if you've seen that in other. It's an OSB board, but it has a water barrier on the outside and a vapor barrier on the outside, and then there's a tape system that holds it all together. So you're basically watertight.
It's for today's energy codes.
Yeah.
New home. You see, it's the green board they're putting on new homes all over. So
Yeah.
that would be, of course, all covered up by the siding. But.
Right. And the intent is really, as Matt and I have talked about it, we just have some concerns about the stability of the house right now. And so what we intend to do is really kind of go one side at a time, maybe a 10 by 10 section, and, take the existing cedar off, put the sheathing on, and start, getting it more structurally rigid from that point on. If you look at the house, it's, there are a couple inches of lean in it right now. We think it may have been built that way, given that if you look at the plaster and lath inside, it's not cracked, so it almost looks like it's been like that for a while.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out as we go, but it seems like it was built because everything by dimension still works. What siding's there? There's actual angle cuts on the siding where it meets the corners, like
Oh,
a
wow.
2-degree cut, where it's like, how did that?
So you
get
just
there?
roll with that then?
So
Yeah, that's an interesting and cool
Yeah.
Harry Potter-esque detail.
Yeah.
It is kind of like that. So,
Leaning Tower of McCordy.
McCordy.
moving forward to upstairs. This is the rear of the property right now. The problem that we have with those two windows, they're vinyl windows, number one. Number two, they're not sufficient egress. The front of the house has a single window which has appropriate egress. What we had hoped to do is to, we actually want to replace that window, that's vinyl as well, with a wood window. And on the back, replace the two windows with a single center window so it would mirror the front of the house, but would have the appropriate legal egress. I think.
I think
Does that
that's
cover it?
everything.
That may be it.
Yep, and I didn't mean to cut it you off,
No,
James. But
that's fine.
so now, if people have questions, and then if we want to briefly recap some of the things that are being requested are the replacement of the existing siding with the LP Smart Side, the composite product, the moving of some windows and the installation of some new windows, and the reconstruction of the front and rear porches, or the reconstruction of the front one and then a construction of a rear porch. I think it should be noted too that you're proposing wood windows for all the replacement windows, and you'll also be refurbishing some other windows, correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. Pretty sure that's it. If there's anything else, I'm sure that you can hop in, and then just so we kind of have, thank you for the presentation, and that was a smaller recap of it, so we can address it in those bite-sized chunks, if you will, if you need to.
I was just going to comment to say, like I was saying on the previous application, that obviously we're bound to standards, but I really appreciate how you've taken those into consideration in making this application and your presentation today. It's very clear to me, one, you own other properties in the neighborhood too, but you're trying to take something that hasn't been able to be used in 20 years or however long and make it a usable space, but still look and fit the neighborhood. So I appreciate that effort.
I think it's actually it will be a really cute house. I think it can be a really nice house, but it's, right now it's an eyesore and, a danger in the community right now.
Right.
I was just going to suggest for discussion purposes, at least we take each piece and discuss it separately. And so I would like to start with the replacement siding. I think this is one of the only applications I've ever been presented with where I actually think taking off what little siding you have left and replacing it with the sheathing will ensure that this house stands for another 100 years. So I rarely have the opportunity to say that, but I think that is consistent with all of the regulations and the purpose of our historic restoration regulations. So,
I
I
had a question, I guess. I'm not too familiar with the engineered wood siding, so I guess I'm kind of wondering, I guess Luis may be looking for some guidance on how that falls with, like, typically we ask for cedar siding. Like Dana said, I'm not opposed in this specific instance to removing and replacing the siding just because I think this is an extreme case, but I guess just looking for a little more knowledge about the engineered wood portion.
Yeah, so great question. I mean, I think that there's two camps that you can look at. I did a lot of research on this one, and it took me a long time. There were things in articles that I read that said, when they were written, it's very important to consider too. Some things that said, like, I want to step back one step real quick too. When we're considering this one, I think that looking at the sheathing is very important to the integrity of the property structurally. Obviously, that's not something that we can see, but the lack of that sheathing is very important to consider. So you have to access it from one side, the interior or the exterior. We also have the consideration to take into effect, the fact to take into consideration, rather, that the exterior siding on this property is massively deteriorated. It wasn't brought up, but it looks like there's probably only been a couple of coats of paint on this property, period. I mean, it was paling down to bare wood, and it didn't look like there was layers necessarily underneath it. Two, it's been massively altered where the pictures, I know it's small, so I'm sorry here, the siding that was going over the woods and stuff were very incompatible matches for what was actually the siding. It wasn't flush with the other stuff, so we've lost a lot of that fabric. The two kind of camps that I alluded to before I went on that small tangent are that, A, it should always be replaced with wood, like on the front, let's say. But B, the wood that we have now is not anywhere near the same wood that we had before. I think that's important for two reasons. One, if we're going to be looking at a replacement material, we have to consider compatibility of how it's going to act with the entire rest of the house. LP SmartSide has been out for a while, but I didn't do research to see how well it plays with normal wood, especially on this scale, and I think that that's also something to consider, is that when we look at number 6, the last consideration is material. This is still wood, but it has a coating on it, and then the compatibility of it is going to be important as well, I think, with how is it going to play. How would it play with normal wood, I think, is what I'm getting at. B, this does reasonably replicate wood, right? I mean, I think it does it in, I hate the considerations of color, but it will reasonably replicate it in texture, and I think dimension as well. Reasonable replication is what I'm saying, because I think that looking for exact replication is a bar that's rather high to hit, but a 5-inch reveal would be true to historic standards as well. if that answers the question.
Yeah, I appreciated the note about compatibility in your report. And I thinking about alternatives to this, if it were a different material or something that could then sacrifice the integrity of the structure more long-term. Or the alternative is there's no work done on this house and it falls down and we lose another historic property. So I'm in agreement with what Dana said earlier. This is a rare case where I feel like this is an appropriate use of that.
I'm right
different
there.
siding.
I'm right there with you. Like I don't know how many times we've ever approved replacing siding. Very, very rare, if ever. And this is a great example to do it, in my opinion. Okay. Do you want to move on to the next one then? The next item. You got the discussion on the.
Replacing the deteriorating non-original windows. So, in reading this, it seemed like you're going to take one side has 2 non-original windows currently.
Correct.
Right? And what you want to do is take those, you want to replace those. With non-original windows in terms of style, right? That's your bathroom windows, but they're non-original windows anyway,
Correct.
right? So you want to place non-original windows with different non-original windows.
I want to
Is that correct?
make another point, and I know that we're looking at a lot here. So if we come to look at the original drawings, right? Whoa, sliding back here. So the applicants can correct me if I'm wrong. These are where the potential bathrooms are going to be, these 2 windows.
Right.
These are original wood windows, but they're first of all taller windows, is what Peter was alluding to. Then
Yeah. So we wanted to shorten those,
Okay,
And
so my understanding was incorrect. So,
replacing them
then
with wood windows.
When we look, it's still kind of correct. So then when we come up, so these 2 are important to consider. They are still, those 2 windows are there, correct?
They are there, yes.
We have a window right here on this side in the kitchen that is a small casement, and I can try to find the picture in a second. I'm not showing as well as I can, but that is a non-original casement window
Correct.
that you would install a new wooden window into this one?
Window there.
Okay. And then on this side over here is where one of the replacement windows would go. So this is, sorry, I'm moving the mouse, and I hope you guys can see it, but it's in the rear back there.
Yes.
Then coming down here, right now there's a small square window here,
Correct.
which I'm not going to venture to make a guess on the age of that window at all, but that is another one that's going to be slated for replacement with one of the existing windows, is the small square one that's in the closet that exists now.
So that one will become a full-size window.
It'll
Correct.
become
Original, yes.
be replaced with one of the original 2. So that's the second replacement.
Yeah, so we're repurposing 2 windows that would be in the new bathroom area, so we're taking them out of the bathroom, putting one in the kitchen, one over where there's a short window, putting 2 new wood bathroom windows in, and putting a new wooden window in the kitchen.
So maybe this will help, at least me. The windows that you wish to shorten for the bathroom. But okay, overall my question is, you're not asking to remove any windows in the sense of side over anything. You're going to keep all the window openings in some extent that are there, and then essentially add some to the side that doesn't have any. Okay.
Yes.
I feel better, thank you.
I don't know how you keep track of all that. That's impressive.
And so, yeah, the 2 windows in the bathroom that exist right now, and what will be the future bathroom, so on the east property, will just be taken out and saved for reuse. There will be a new window opening cut in the rear of the side of the property. That is where one of the windows that was taken out for reuse will be placed. On the west side of the property, there's an existing small non-original casement window that will be having a new wood window put into that area. Right now, there's a small square-ish window that's in an existing closet. That window will be removed, and that's where the second replacement window will go. And then 2 new wooden windows that are shorter height, so the rough opening will be shortened up a little bit, will go in the place of the existing rough openings where the 2 repurposed windows were.
And when you shorten those windows, will like the header of the window may stay where it is and you'll shorten from the bottom, so you'll keep that architectural placement?
Yeah,
Okay,
all the tops of the windows will line up. and
great, thank you.
They're just because of privacy and bathroom, it's shorter windows.
And then, just because we're on windows, and we're just gonna go up to the second story now.
Right.
Right now, there is an existing vinyl window that is on the front of the property. Do you plan on keeping the dimensions the same reasonably, or I mean, are they gonna change drastically?
No.
The dimension of the front window?
No, we're just trying to maintain or get to 5.7 inches of glazing
Okay.
for egress.
And then on the rear of the property, there are currently 2 windows that do not meet egress standards. Those openings are going to change and probably go then on the center of the 2 openings to make a new egress compliant window. That will be a wood replacement window, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So would essentially then, your second story new rear window basically match your front one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that helps me visualize.
And that front window is a new front window as well, because the existing.
You want it to be
front window-
wood instead of vinyl?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
I mean, if you look at the house, all the windows have been broken out. Almost everything is boarded up. You know, there really isn't anything that's truly functional here.
Oh, yes, I drive by this house a lot, especially since our new detour through the neighborhoods. Yeah, it's
Well, you
needs
should
some
see
love.
the landscaping now, because the jungle has been removed.
Awesome.
I mean, we had the owner next door and across the street come over and say, "Oh my God, thank you for, taking care of something."
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about windows.
So I just had one comment. So in sifting through all this discussion about the windows, it seems like, at least with respect to the second floor, the front and back, you're not going to change the way, well, you are going to change the front, right?
No, the
Front window, you're going to change the front window in a historically approved way. You're going to take out vinyl and you're going to put in a wood window, right? So, and in the back, you're going to take out 2 windows that aren't original,
Correct.
are vinyl,
Vinyl, yes.
and you're going to put in 1 wood window.
Correct.
Okay.
I think so. If this helps you, I think the back and the front will have
Yeah,
the same. Yeah.
And they're all going to be wood. They were vinyl. Now it's going to reduce it, and it's going to be wood. Good idea. Just wanted to-
Okay, and then moving on to refresh or rebuild the front porch. Let's discuss that.
Can you just recap for us what the front porch plan is? That would just help.
I mean,
Thank you.
it is like the rest of the house, basically to rebuild it as it appears, but in a structurally sound way. So that's number one. I mean, it bounces, all that kind of stuff, and the flooring isn't per historic standards. So that would be one thing. Number 2 is to build a staircase that would, use I always call it the ladder style, where you have the stringers inside, use that style coming down from the.
Matching like your other property.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like this photo. here.
Yeah.
So wooden steps then?
Yes.
In the front, okay.
Yes.
And then the columns right now are just looks like 4x4s or 6x6s.
4x4s, yeah.
Are you going to replicate the style of columns you did on your other property, or are you gonna look for anything period specific? Like I'm looking at a photo of your other porch that you did where it looks like it's a little bit more detailed than a 4x4.
Yeah, we added just corner
Chamfer.
pieces
Yeah.
to give it a little bit of dimensionality. I wouldn't be averse to doing that at all. I mean, it's on the other property, there are 6x, I believe, 6x6s
On the front,
on the front, rather than 4x4s.
maybe
So
4x6 or 6x6, and they're wrapped with.
yeah,
Okay.
So we
put
could-
corners on them.
Yeah, we could do the same kind of wrap on.
Yeah, well, I'm not asking you to do anything. I was just curious what if you were just going to leave them the way they are, or if you were
Well,
going
those,
to.
and that's kind of one of those weird spots. 'Cause that's dimension lumber. Those
Yeah.
are 3.5 by 3.5 posts. So they're not from 18,
Yeah. Right.
whatever. We do know that there's some support missing. There should be really a support underneath every one of those to footing. One's gone. I don't know if it was ever put there, but
Yeah.
I mean, we would be pretty much reframing everything that's there and then putting the historical facade over everything.
Would you remove it, and then go back in, or would you?
The
porch
the walk
floor?
surface or the roof?
Yeah, the floor surface.
The floor surface, we would be supporting that roof, removing almost all of that.
Yeah.
Rejoicing it, and then putting it back together with probably the
Gotcha.
tongue and groove top,
Yeah.
the cedar and the wooden stairs. So unless you went like this up underneath it, you would never know that it wasn't
Great.
built back then, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
Luis,
yeah.
question. Would porch skirting have been period appropriate originally for this home? I was just curious.
Question.
I don't know. We don't even know when this house was built. To be honest with you, the reason that I think I brought it to the commission too is because the scale of this work first of all, you just have so much other stuff going on. Second of all, it was easy to lump this in. Second of all, the removal of it and the rebuilding could sometimes be looked at as administrative. Something else to consider. The skirting is something that, when we look at it, there's lattice is generally used just to keep stuff from out underneath the porch, and if you wanted to do that.
They want to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know when this house was built. It's a rather undecorated rendition as it exists now of a Greek Revival house. You don't see, the only things that really indicate that to us, I guess, is the form of the house with the gable front. You can see that in a lot of different styles, but it's the cornice returns that are coming back in with the wide frieze boards. That kind of lets us know, okay, this was a Greek Revival. I hope that answers it, kind of.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other questions on the front porch, or should we move to the rear? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, any questions about the rear porch? And yeah.
We just really want something kind of workable for people coming in and out.
And again, you're going to repair a non-historic previous, possibly sloppy non-historic change to the back of it, right?
Oh, it's definitely sloppy.
You don't think that's original graffiti there?
I have a rear question, but it's about that window. Are you guys going to put a window back in there on the rear, or?
Not on that side,
one, no.
because given where the foundation is, we want to have the sink on the west side.
Yeah, that'll.
Okay, so the left side.
Actually, currently, the stove resides right there in the kitchen layout, right?
Yes, it
And
does.
that actual part of this building, I'm assuming was post 1930, 1940, because it's a separate foundation and it's surfaced lumber in the floor of this part of it. And since then, they've changed the window in it again. So I don't know when. That wasn't part of the original house when it was built. I do know that, just by the foundation and the lumber that's in it.
So the only first floor rear alteration you're looking to do is to obviously have a door and then your 5x5-ish wood
Yes.
entrance. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
And I mean, the other McCourty house we have, I like having a window facing the backyard. It's a big backyard, but just given, trying to run water to that place where it wouldn't be insulated easily, all that, we just kind of, creating trouble, I think.
Okay. All right, well, we broke down each of the requests in good detail. Does anyone want to make a motion about approving the project?
I'll move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work as described in the application for the windows, siding, front porch, back porch, as all of that complies with the Secretary of Interior Standards 2, 6, and 9.
Thank you for that. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
James,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes, and I want to make it clear why I'm voting and on the, or yes, on the siding. The existing, this is something you put in, the existing siding on the house is damaged, has lost integrity through improper repairs. To stabilize the property, sheathing needs to be added, which requires the siding to be removed. The LP Smart Side reasonably replicates the existing siding in texture and design, and that is why I am voting yes on the siding. I'm also voting yes on all the other.
and Christie.
Enthusiastically, yes.
So this all passed for you.
Just because you drive by.
This all passed for you. I will get that out to you hopefully by the end of the week. I think I can do that. And we can be in touch too regarding this as you move forward. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tackling it. It wouldn't have been long for this world, I think, if someone didn't very aggressively tackle it like that. So thanks.
I'd say 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
Well, and
maybe.
Probably.
with that arsonist that's running around,
Yeah, seriously.
seriously,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
house needs to, look occupied, and thank you for doing it.
But we have two cats, an orange one and a white one in back who are not happy, so, we'll have to figure that one out. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Luis, would you want to do the coordinator's report?
Yeah. So I talked to you guys a little bit already about the gravestone that was found. If you guys have questions about that, you can feel free to reach out to me. The gravestone that was found in South Westnedge Park on Westnedge in the city of Kalamazoo. Feel free to reach out, or if there's questions, once I get done with the report, you guys can ask, and I'd be happy to entertain those. We also had a gravestone cleaning on the 3rd of August. That wasn't put on by the city, but it's put on by Atlas Preservation. Historic Preservation Commissioners attended that one. It was unlike any of our other gravestone cleanings. Those are quotes that I'm putting up around it that we've had. This one focused on not only cleaning, but also looked at kind of graveyard design and styles of gravestones, and then also at the repair of stones. So Atlas Preservation undertook that. I want to say they repaired or reset 5 graves. We had about 80 people come out. Some people came from as far away as 2.5 hours. This was part of a larger effort that Atlas made, where they were traveling across the entire country, fixing up gravestones. Wow. So that was a cool event. Moving on to the reviews that we had. A lot of roofs are going on. 530 West Kalamazoo is the replacement of a non-historic side door. I apologize for that not going on there. Some of the other notable ones, I guess you could say, they're notable just because they're not roofs. It's 402 East Michigan is the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. Security cameras are so utilitarian that as far back as I can remember and when I've looked at reports, those have been done administratively. I think just so we can still say, like, I'm putting it in position A as opposed to position B allows us to have a record of those over time, but it also allows us to say, hey, this might be the place that's going to have the least, it's going to have the minimal impact on the historic materials overall of the property. And then 509 West Vine Street, you guys probably all remember the projecting sign. This was not a projecting sign, but it was one that was going along with the projecting sign project, so I administratively reviewed it. It's on not even the rear of the property, but kind of the rear, and then hidden one more time for a rear entrance to a property, a flat sign that can be affixed through mortar joints, but it is still part of the projecting sign project that some of you may remember. I can't remember who all was on the commission at that point, but that was an early project for myself when I got this gig. So, yeah.
Great, yeah.
And I guess the last one I'll say too is 415 Ranny was a fire was at that property. The project on that one was going to be to move that back wall about an inch because they needed to rebuild so much of the ledger at the bottom of it. Everything was going to stay the same and literally just rebuild that back wall up. So that's what it was. Moving that without changing the pitch, I didn't think would alter anything. So that's what that project was.
Right.
I had a question, if this is an okay time to ask. Following up on my email to you, Luis, I emailed Luis about the property at the corner of Forest and Westnedge. They've done a lot of exterior work, so I was just wondering, exterior work to the tune of changing roof lines, removing windows, adding a cinder block wall. So I contacted Luis because I was concerned that none of that had come across our commission. So Luis had said, I think, seems like it might be in a weird black hole of the Vine Neighborhood Historic District. Have you found any more information on that?
Yeah, so this really just becomes a more complicated legal matter. So I had to reach out to the attorney. Historic districts are defined not by parcel numbers, but by meets and bounds descriptions. So starting at a certain point, moving then so many feet in one direction, so on. I say that because that becomes ordinance, right? So you say, like, I'm going to start at this corner, I'm going to move 32 feet west, I'm going to move 32 feet south, 32 feet east, 32 feet north, and that is the boundary. There's no changing that unless you get the ordinance changed, which is quite the undertaking. That area that we were looking at, and so this was probably set up in either 90 or 97, but I want to say that this portion was established in 1990. Like the west 92 feet of the existing parcel used to be a separate parcel, which was captured in the historic district description. Now they're joined, so only the west 92 feet of a joined parcel are in a historic district. Is the first thing that we'll consider. When that join happened, and this is something that needs to be addressed in some of the stuff that I'm doing with looking at the update to the standards and guidelines, which I am working on, believe it or not, is that was never necessarily updated in our system when the parcels got joined. The historic district does not extend to the entire parcel. So now there's one probably, like, we'll just call it 130-foot deep parcel from east to west. It's probably bigger than that, but only the western 92 feet of that parcel are in a historic district. That's very interesting to consider because that's the way that it is, and it was not in our system. So permits were applied for. No one knew that it was in a historic district. I didn't know that things were applied for, and then work was being done. Speaking to the attorney, you can't look at this in a black and white way, in my opinion. It is neither in a historic district or not in a historic district. The 92 western feet of that property are located within a historic district, and the rest of the property is not. Something that needs to be addressed probably in the standards and guidelines, I think, then to say joined parcels do not necessarily get a legacy pass, and you don't get to blanket coat the entire parcel in it. So there needs to be some discussion to look at it, and perhaps some sort of variance that might not be the best language, but to say how they will be addressed in the future.
Is this at the southwest corner of that intersection?
It's the northeast, so it's like right behind Lodge House, if this helps anybody.
Yeah.
It's right across from Old Bike Shop.
Oh, that's
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I did notice that property as well.
Because they've now removed like the semicircular windows and they've added this like cinder block wall and roof angle. It's interesting how that's all.
And I'm pretty sure
Coming
that
together.
was not a contributing structure in the local historic district when they did it. I
Totally agree. I mean, it was kind of an odd building anyway, but that's very interesting to hear. I guess how the parcels are, that's interesting. I never knew that could happen. So let us know. I guess I'm interested personally to know how that resolves.
Yeah. And there will be no action taken on that one from a historic side. Obviously, it was an oversight on the side of the city to not be, the parcels were joined in 08, I think. We just didn't update it just for the full disclosure and transparency. So since that happened, I will not pursue any retroactive action. Appreciate you reaching out about it, and it was an interesting learning opportunity for me as well. But that work will just continue, and we will have to consider it for future things too about what we'll do. So,
Right. Okay. Well, man, interesting meeting.
Yeah.
Could I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourn, or meeting adjourned.